Hello.
I'm at work.
But we are gonna make some chocolate muffins today, and we're gonna put a special ingredient in there. Does anybody know? Banana. I gave you guys 2 bananas because you do not see how ginormous this banana is, but I only have 1. We are only going to need about a half a cup. So maybe your bigger banana would have enough, but just in case I added another banana in your bag, just so you have it, because I figured you're going to want to eat some. And then, you know, at the end, once we fill our cups, you can actually do a little slice of banana and lay it on top if you want to do that. But we're going to get started. We're going to do our bananas first. And like I said, we only need about a half a cup mashed. So you can do it in your mixing bowl and either eyeball it or kind of measure it as you know, once you think you have about a half a cup, you can get a half a cup measure and just make sure. And it can be a little bit overflowing. And then whatever you have extra, just eat, you know, because they're good for you. Got potassium. And the more ripe a banana is, see, mine's still a little green. I tried to put yours in a paper bag the night before I gave them to you, but they still were a little bit green. Hopefully they've ripened up. You want them as ripe as possible. Sometimes even like almost brown is the best time to use a banana. So just about the time when you see your bananas and you look at them and you feel bad because you really don't like to eat the brown bananas, but you don't want to waste them, that's a perfect time to make something with a banana and bake with it. Because when it's soft, it gets actually extra sugar in it, and it's great for baked items. Not so tasty when you're just eating it. But we're going to get started. So you're going to need your fork and your banana. And you're just going to use the back of your fork. You can cut the banana in some pieces to make it a little easier to start. Use your fork to kind of chop it into pieces, and then use the back of your fork to smash it down. So I like to kind of chop it up in little pieces, and then I use the side of my bowl to push it down onto. So depending on how you're mashing it, if you have a bowl, sometimes it's easy to tip it on its side and mash it. And it looks like baby food. In fact, I used to feed this to my kids when they were babies. Another good thing about using the ripe bananas is that they're soft already. It's really hard to mash another less ripe banana. And then sometimes you have to add like a little more sugar or something to add for the sweet, but the more ripe they are, the sweeter they are. And then you'll get kind of like this goopy baby food type thing. I'll throw it in my half cup measure here just to see where I'm at. I'm never a good baker because I always hate to measure things. And then I always add extra. But I've got about half a cup here. You just smash, smash, smash. Use your fork, smash it. You guys ever watch Hulk? The Hulk? Hulk smashes. Probably smells really good. And you have that extra banana too, so you can certainly eat some of that. Have a taste of that. Once we have our half a cup of banana smashed, we can add our butter. And if you didn't get your butter out early enough, I never remember. You pop it in the pot. You could even like cut it up and pop it in the microwave for 15 seconds. You want it soft. You don't want it really melty, but just soft so it kind of mixes in easily with your banana. And this is unsalted butter. You can have a little taste of the unsalted butter. It's going to taste like butter, but you're going to think, it kind of misses something. Well, that's salt. We're going to add that in. If you want to switch from a fork to a spatula, you can do that to start mixing things. And we're gonna add our sugar to this too. So you can go ahead and add, take a little pinch of the sugar, because of course I gave you a little extra so you could have a taste. Take a little pinch of that brown sugar is what I gave you. It's got a little bit more flavor than regular sugar. There's some molasses in it. You can have a taste. It should taste very sweet. Might taste a little bit like candy. A lot of times I try to add yogurt or honey or agave, and I tried this recipe doing that and it just wasn't as good. So we went back to the original with the brown sugar. It's okay once in a while, brown sugar, it's okay. And bananas are good for us. So you're gonna add your sugar in with your banana and your butter, and we're just gonna mix that together really well. Besides the sugar, what we're doing is using all of our like wet or soft ingredients first. And then we'll put the dry ingredients in at the end. So we've got our butter and our banana and our sugar all together in our bowl. Then you might see clumps of butter or sugar, that's okay. We're gonna keep adding the liquid. So I gave you guys, it's about 1/4 cup of buttermilk. And you can have a little taste of it, smell it, have a taste of it. It's gonna taste a little bit sour, but it adds a nice tang to the baked goods. I like the added flavor that it brings. If I ever make just regular banana bread, I always use buttermilk. And if you haven't had buttermilk pancakes before, it's a good thing to do. And if you don't have buttermilk, you can mix milk with a little bit of vinegar. As Miss Allie found out, that if you do that ahead of time, I think it needs to sit for 10 minutes or so, then it will create kind of this sour taste in your milk, and that will replicate what you're looking for with the buttermilk. Did it turn out?
Yeah, I think so. It's yes. The other one did not look good. So thank you.
Yeah, so you need about 1/4 cup of that. And everybody else is pre-measured, so you're good to go. Now mix that in. So it's got kind of a funky taste on its own. I don't know anyone who says, I'd like a big cup of buttermilk to drink. I don't see people saying that very often, or ever, but it's good in baked goods. So we're stirring that in. Our next wet item doesn't look wet at the moment, but it's wet on the inside. Can anyone guess what it is? An egg. That's right. We get to crack eggs today. So if you're going to crack an egg, and if you're kind of new to the egg cracking, you might want to do it in a separate bowl so that just in case there's some shells, it's easier to get out before you put it into the mixing bowl. And remember, you're going to tap your egg on the side of the bowl, whatever bowl you're using. There's a short end and a long end. You're going to do it along the long end, and you don't want to lightly tap it, and you don't want to smash it down because that'll be a big mess. You're going to tap it until you hear a crack. So I hear a crack. And then you're going to open it up with your thumbs. You're going to find that crack, and your thumbs might get a little bit wet and messy. That's okay. If you have a paper towel nearby, that's okay. You're going to find that. Now the key is to open it up, but don't squeeze it. it might explode on you. So when you're opening it up, just in case it explodes, do it over the bowl. Open it up and drop it in. And hang on to the shells. Put them aside, don't put them in your mixing bowl because we don't want a crunchy buttermilk banana chocolate muffin. We don't want shells in it. And sometimes I use my fork to kind of mix it in because it almost like it blends the egg a little bit better. So I kind of use the back of my fork and almost whisk it in. Now, of course, if you have a mixer, you could always do that, but this kind of recipe, you don't necessarily need it. So I just make sure that my egg is all broken up in my wet mixture. Got all our wet things in now. One optional wet thing, if you've got it, is you can put vanilla in. And we need about a half a teaspoon of vanilla. You can smell it before you put it in. Smells really nice. It just adds a little bit of flavor to our muffins. So you want about a half a teaspoon of that. And smell it as it goes. Vanilla is one of those that you taste and you think, why doesn't it taste like it smells? Because it smells so good, but it doesn't taste good because it needs to be in a little tiny bit with a big amount of batter with some sugar in it. It just helps to add to the flavor, almost like how salt is. Salt's not really fun to eat by itself, but salt just adds to the flavor of what you're making. So we've got everything together and you can have maybe a little taste, but remember you just put the raw egg in there, so you don't want to eat too much of this batter. Now we're going to add some of our dry things. I gave you guys some cocoa powder. Now you can always make banana muffins and just do chocolate chips in them, but I found adding this cocoa powder kind of makes it taste like chocolate cake. And I love chocolate cake. So if we add this in, first you can smell it. And again, it's just like how that vanilla is. It smells so good. You think it's going to taste amazing. And then you take a taste of it. And you say, what's wrong with this? Why does it taste like this? Because it's bitter. You're tasting bitter. And the reason why it's bitter is because there's no sugar. We put the sugar in our mixing bowl already, so it's going to go make friends with that sugar. But when you eat it by itself, you think, well, how is this going to make it taste better? Well, it does. Once it mixes with the sugar, then it starts tasting really good. So you can mix this into your bowl. And you'll see it's going to takes a little minute for it to kind of start mixing in. Just keep stirring it around, and then all of a sudden you're going to have like this chocolate batter. Sometimes it like stays looking dry for a while, but then all of a sudden it's going to start mixing in. So keep stirring until it doesn't look dry anymore. It'll be lumpy because you've got lumps of banana in there. You can have a little taste of this batter. Just put your finger in or take a tiny little taste. Might start tasting kind of good. We've got the chocolate in there and the sweet banana. I think Addie likes it. I just saw her take a big lick. Once we've added that, we've got another couple dry ingredients. We've got a bag of flour. And this is going to help bring structure to our muffins. So right now, if we put this batter in the oven, it'll just be flat and gross and just, it won't look like a muffin at all. It'll not be nice. So this gives structure so it has something to grow on. And I've already put in some baking powder and baking soda into your mix with the flour. Those will help it rise up. We'll start mixing that in now. So you'll see it'll start thickening up, and that's good. We want it to be a little thicker, just until it's mixed in. Now, because we use the unsalted butter, we're gonna need to add back in about a half a teaspoon of salt. So whatever salt you've got is fine. I've got some kosher salt here. And like I mentioned before with the salt, that just kind of helps bring out some of the flavor. And you can have a little taste of the salt too. See what you think. That way you know what it tastes like by itself. Mixed in the salt. The other optional item, which I tried this when I made my sample earlier this week and I actually really liked it, is if you have ground cinnamon. If you want to put it in, you can. It adds a tiny little bit of extra flavor. You want just about a half a teaspoon of it. And you might not even notice the cinnamon flavor, but it just kind of adds a little something to the overall end result. So that's optional to you. What you can do is smell it and think about it. If you taste it, it's going to be a lot like tasting the unsalted or the unsweetened cocoa. It needs sugar to really bring the flavor out. And it's not something we want to be the main flavor of this. It just helps, kind of adds to the chocolate flavor. So I'm adding to mine, but like I said, for you, it's totally optional. That one I measured out because last time I think I put a little too much in. Even though it was good, I think I put a little too much in. All right. Last but not least, we've got probably the best part of the show here, which is the chocolate chips part. I'm sure you guys don't like chocolate chips. So, you know, if you want to leave out the chocolate chips, if you think chocolate chips are too much, I don't think anybody thinks that really. I know I don't. I like extra chocolate chips. So you're going to put your chocolate chips. Now you want to save some because what we're going to do with the chocolate chips is we want some on the inside of our muffins, but before they go into the oven, we're going to sprinkle a few over each muffin. So we want to just you'll put most in the batter, but save some left over to put a few on top. And of course, take a few to eat. Make sure you like them. So I saved a few, and I gave you guys all mini chocolate chips. I thought I had some left over, but I think my teenage boys went and ate all my mini chocolate chips. So I only had a few left, but I have bigger chocolate chips that I'm using for my inside. So we've got all of our ingredients now into our batter, and it's a lot of batter. So if you have a 12-cup muffin tin, you could space them out and you'll just really need to keep an eye on them when they bake. If your oven's not set yet, you want to make sure it's at 350. And if you want extra big muffins, you'll probably start looking at 25 minutes, but you want to check once it's kind of firm on the inside, that's when you want to take them out. So if it still looks a little bit wobbly, then maybe leave them in for a couple more minutes. I didn't give you cupcake liners because I think because there's so much batter that I just thought we'll just dump them straight into our muffin tins. But you may be able to get 7 or 8 decent size. And you can use like, I like to use like a 1/4 cup measuring cup to scoop and fill them up. And they're going to be pretty full. You might make a little mess, like I've already dropped a big glob on my table. And I just filled mine up, but if you guys want smaller muffins, go for it. These will probably freeze as well. Since all my guys left me for the weekend, I don't want to be eating all of these muffins on my own, so I think I might freeze them so I can forget about them for a little while. So I've got them just about filled. And they kind of just overflow a little bit. They'll puff up. You can sprinkle your chocolate chips on. If you have a banana left and you want to try, you can put a little slice of banana on top in the middle. I haven't tried that yet. I've only seen it done online. So I'll try mine on one. And just use your fingers to sprinkle your last chocolate chips on top. That way we can, when they bake, you'll see them right on top. Like I said, if you're making the big ones, then you're going to look at about 20, I think it was about 25 minutes. Might take a little bit longer. So just start watching. If you're making smaller ones, then I would definitely check at like 18 to 20 minutes. See how they're doing. You don't want to over bake them. So when they're just set and then in the middle, then they should be ready. How we doing, everybody? I think Allie likes the batter. Next week, we're going to go a little bit of the healthy route again. We're going to make rainbow roll-ups because we all like rainbows. Who's excited to eat these chocolate muffins? That is if you guys aren't all sick before they even come out of the oven. If you keep eating these chocolate chips and all the batter. That's okay.
Thank
But
you.
thank you so much. And you guys have a great weekend. Thanks for joining me. Bye.
Bye.
See you next week.
What did that baby say?
What did you say?
Bye-bye.